Bar bloody humbug. Bog off the lot of you, go on. Leave this grumpy old fart in peace and play with his trains. God, yeah. Go on, nap off. Ho ho ho! Okay then, well it is Christmas, so yeah, why not stay with me here in the Western Centurion garage and see what I've been up to. I hope you liked my last video. I can't remember when I put it up. I can just about remember what it was about. I think it was to I think Western Centurion was running back and forth over the Glen Druitt Junction. And another train. Which one was that? Was that the Ketley Hall, wasn't it? That's right, they were just going back and forth, back and forth. And I didn't actually have them traversing all different directions. So I'll do another video and correct that, okay? But first of all, look, I have a mug. Now this was made for me by Andy Ashton. So Andy, thank you so much. Absolutely love the mug. I've got 6 more as well. Andy had this fabulous idea, made me thinking that I could sell them to help fund the layout, but I think trying to sell them via YouTube is a bit of a no-no, isn't it? I think it violates some rules. So what I'll do, I'll probably do some giveaways at some point next year. So keep a lookout for those, and some of you might be owning a mug the same as this. Alright, so Andy, brilliant, thank you. He's got a YouTube channel. He hasn't got any videos up yet, but he's building his own layout, starting off in the garage, and he's got some baseboards already done. He's done a cracking job on the carcass and the baseboards on top. So when Andy actually starts doing some videos and uploading them, they'll be well worth watching. Okay, so Andy, brilliant, thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you and your family. So yes, what have we been up to down here in the garage? It doesn't look a lot, but it is a lot. I've been very busy, hence the lack of videos. So the Glen Druitt Junction is now finished, all track laying and the turnouts are all done. I've still got to place all the boards, all the PCBAs, and make sure the wiring on that's correct, because where you saw them in the video, that was just a temporary position whilst I made sure everything worked. But I've tidied up a lot of the wiring, but I'll take you around and quickly show you what it is I've actually done. Okay, so yeah, why don't I just shut up and actually show you what I've done instead of trying to explain it to you all. Okay, so I'll just finish my tea and I'll take you around the garage. Chin chin. What I thought I'd do to start off before I actually show you around and what I've done is to show you the drop down section and how or how it's lifted up and put into place. Alright, I don't think I've actually ever shown it being done, so yeah, this should be a first. Alright, so what I'll do, I'll start off with this section here first, the largest section. Alright, and all we do, we just pull it up like so. Oh, nice squeeze. And there's a leg under here which will fall down, and that slots into a little hole in the floor. And just here I've got a little support underneath. All that just turns round, and that's it. That is now that section in place, and you'll see there's a little connector block glued in place on there, and that's where all the wires go to. Next step is to lift this piece up. So I lift this up, 2 locks, and they go into position. Next I have 2 bolts and 2 holes here. So first bolt into there, push it into position, second bolt in there, push that into position. and that pretty much makes sure that all the track is now aligned properly. Lastly is the plug, which plugs into here, and it will only go in one way. Done. So we're now connected all the electronics from this side to this side, and that is it. That's the drop down section up and in position now. If I need to come and go from the garage, all I have to do is unplug this, drop this section down and just squeeze out through that little gap. As long as I don't put on any more weight, I'm alright. But it is a bit dodgy, making sure you don't actually catch these bits of track on there. Okay, so that's the drop down section. Now I'll show you around, okay? And now what I'll do, I'll take you around as much of the layout that I bought, as much of the fiddle yard that I put down as I can. Okay, so I don't want to go any further to the left because there's a couple of little surprises under there which I want to do for a later video. Alright, so yeah, nice little surprises. But as you see, it's still got part of the incline in place. That will probably change though, but it's still there. Just gives me a little bit of extra track to play around with whilst I was testing the Glendruitt junction. So here's the fiddle yard and the inclines, up and down lines. As you see, we get on to the drop down section up over the bar. So in total for the drop down section I've had to do 3 lots of track cutting on all 4 lines. So that's 1, that's 2, and then round here we have 3. That's the 3rd lot of cuts I've had to do. That was the plug I was on about. So as you can see, it just quite easily pulls out and slots back in. Now I have made a wiring diagram, which I'll just go and get for you now. Okay, it was very important to actually have a wiring diagram because there's so many wires in there, and there it is. So that tells me, well, obviously, whereabouts the wires are situated within the plugs. So it made it a lot easier. Once I'd done this one, that plug is the one that's stuck underneath it on the wood, and C2 is this one here. So that obviously has to just reflect that plug reading. And obviously have a little key chart to tell me what the symbols stand for. So SV stands for servo. So that's servo 10, servo 11 and servo 12. NW is networking. FG stands for frog, and obviously DC is the 12 volts, and the DCC is the around about 15 volts, anywhere between 13 and 15 volts. So yeah, that was that, and that helped a lot. So if we carry on moving around here, and then we get to Glendruitt Junction, complete and fully operational. As I said, I'll do another little video with the locos running up and down and traversing it in all directions, as it would be when it's actually up and running properly. All the Megapoint controller systems here, that's just temporary. I've only put them there while I got this up and running. Now originally I did have a load of wires coming from there that traipsed across the floor here and into here, because servos 10 and 11 and 12 are in here and onto those. Okay, and now servos 10, 11, 12, if we come back over here, that's number 10, that's number 11, and that's number 12. So these are actually operated by that servo controller board and these last 3 relays. Hence why it's very important to get the wiring done. So as you can see, I've got the wiring all bunched up together here, goes to the plug, and then obviously the same underneath that other piece of baseboard. All I need to do is get a clip to put on here, so when this isn't in use you can just sit in the clip and be held out the way. Yeah, very pleased, and it all worked first time. I got all the wiring right the first time, so I'm absolutely chuffed with that. So just push that away, back into there. Then I can show you this atrocity of cabling under here. Look at that. It's like a blinking bird's nest. But it's a bird's nest that I actually made myself, so I know exactly where every single little stick and twig goes. And I will be making a schematics sheet for these. So basically it's a wiring diagram. It will tell me what wires come from where and where they go and what they do. So it'll be a bit like the diagram for the plugs that I did. And all of these boards will at some point be put on something underneath here. Now I'm thinking of, when I've got the fiddle yard complete, is that I'll have MDF underneath, so it will go from here right to the back. So you won't see any of the underside of the fiddle yard, it'll just look nice and clean, and everything else will be inside. So I'm still not sure whether I'll put that onto a drawer system like I have on the other side, or just fix it onto the MDF in here and have it hinged at the back so the whole lot can drop down. I'm not sure yet. If it drops down, that means I'll have problems with stuff at the back. But anyway, that's a problem for me to think about next year. So to run the locos all the way around, I've had to make a full loop. We just pop over that section and continue around here, and then I've managed to complete the full loop over to the other side of the garage. Now this is just Hornby set track, made up of various lengths that I had. Actually no, I think like this piece here is actually some track that I originally got from my dad, and that piece there. And you can see it's got white speckled paint on. That was from when I was actually painting the garage. I don't know if anyone you remember, but I did actually have some track laid out on the floor of the garage so I could run some trains. And to connect the Code 100 and Code 75, I've got these little sections here. I can't remember what they call them now, but it basically changes from Code 100 down to Code 75. They're handy little things, but I would recommend, if you do get anything like this and you're going to use them permanently, would be underneath that connects these 2 bits of rail there and there is just a small piece of wire. So it might be worthwhile, if you can, just dab a bit of solder in there underneath, because that wire on one of these, the wire did actually break away, so I had to solder it. So yes, that then gives me, just on a temporary basis, the full loop all the way around and under there. So next year I'll be looking at starting the inclines again. I'll be reviewing those and getting this section done, this drop down done, so it will be pretty similar to the other drop down section. And this part of the fiddle yard, all this empty space here, needs to filling up with sidings and storage for all the trains. So everything you see here, this is the down line for the fiddle yard, that's the up line for the fiddle yard, that's the down line for the inclines, and that's the up line for the inclines. And there we have it, peoples. That's progression with the fiddle yard at the moment. I know it doesn't look a lot, but when it comes to time to do it, it's a lot. I did, what are we on now? We're on Friday, yesterday. I was down here 6 o'clock in the morning and back up at the house at 5 o'clock. And all of that was pretty much spent on going through all the wiring, making sure it's right, making sure that drop down section was good to go, doing all the wiring through there. There was a lot of soldering, a hell of a lot of soldering, but it was well worth it because everything runs nice and smoothly now. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So, oh, hang on. I'm going to show you on the screen here. That is the diagram for the connectors, and I'll do the same, as I said, for the schematics of the wiring. I've just used Excel to do it. Nice and simple and easy. Very convenient, Excel actually. And if I come down here and bring this up, there is the layout on Railmaster. And this section down here, that's the Glen Druitt junction. I hope you can see that nice and clearly. This here is how Hornby do their double slips. So basically it's like 2 wide turnouts back to back. Now I've done mine slightly differently. I've done mine with a, shall we say, if you're going that way, a right hand turnout, and then over here another right hand turnout. So that's how I do my double slip, and it works really well. It just means that when I come to connect the turnouts to these boards here, to the Megapoint servo controller board, so for example I have turnout servo 13 and 14. When I come to connect them on here, I don't connect 13 and 14, I connect 13 will go to terminal 14 and 14 will go to terminal 13, and it all works. It works absolutely fine. On the instructions for the double slips, Peco say that you've got to, I think, swap over the frogs. I didn't have to do that. All I had to do was swap over the servo connections on the servo board. I still haven't been able to get my head around it properly, but it works, and as long as it works, I'm a happy chappy. Alright, so what I do, I'm going to get some trains up and running. I'm going to get them running across Glen Druitt Junction in the fashion they should be running across if I was up and operational with a complete layout. Okay, so look out for that video. It'll be a separate one because I don't want this one to be too long. And yeah, I'll speak to you then. And later on, I'll wish you all a Merry Christmas. Alright, not going to do it at the moment because it's not Christmas yet. Okay, so catch you again soon. Bye bye. Bar bloody humbug.